Half of the Fortune Global 500 are in my hometown, Chengdu, Chengdu. That is the new ad campaign for Chengdu. As I said before in this channel, in Chengdu and Chongqing, those are the new areas to the west that are going to be the hub for high-tech development and other types of development in the new China future. They've already considered the probability, high probability, that manufacturing is going to continue to take a downswing, so they're planning for expansion. The new Silk Road through Chongqing and Chengdu. Chengdu, more than just pandas, has transformed itself into a high-tech shopping and information technology build center. The traditional city is now destined to be the start of the new Silk Road, which in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, many of you will hear about and will be affected by, as logistically and manufacturing-wise, as a build center, Chengdu will be making products that many of you, perhaps in the European area, will be getting. Central Europe to benefit perhaps the most initially. Let's take a look at the high-tech development area of Chengdu and see which companies have got sweetheart deals from the Chinese to come and relocate, build factories, and give their intellectual property over for the new Silk Road. So we talk about the new Silk Road, and we talk about Chengdu being the hub, the gateway to the west, which is going to be used for build center. Companies like HP, Microsoft, Intel, many semiconductor manufacturers, many other companies that are involved in even non-computer related tech companies out here, all of them investing money in Chengdu and getting sweetheart deals from the Chinese government to do that, both locally and nationally, Chinese government. So instead of building these facilities in your country, they're doing it here. So there's more than just the Chinese that have a stake at this. They're gambling that this new Silk Road is going to be the answer to their slowing economy. When the traditional means of import-export through the waterways begins to go away, and they get enough partners in Central Europe and of course Kyrgyzstan and many of those nations between Asia and Central Europe that are set to really increase their GDP and their influence in the area. Those are going to be some hot up-and-coming regions that we're going to hear about here starting within a couple of years, and they're going to continue to progress as long as the Silk Road is successful. However, if it's not successful, then China's stake in it, its gamble, will be devastating to them, and it depends a lot really on what happens with those countries along the Silk Road, and also what happens with extra elements in there like ISIS. Are these so-called terrorist organizations and these factions throughout the new Silk Road, are they going to be troublesome to the Chinese in conducting business? That's yet to be seen. I think that's definitely something that we can speculate on, but we won't know more until the coming years. One thing's for sure, they're building the infrastructure, and they're doing so also in Chongqing, and we should see a lot of fireworks along the way, of course. But that's the big gamble. The big gamble. Can China get back up to double-digit GDP growth, and can they gain enough influence throughout the new Silk Road to be the key player for generations? the new Silk Road from Beijing to Moscow. This is the plan of China, and they've been talking about it for many months now. And we can see this, that in Chongqing, in Chengdu, in Xi'an, they're already working on the project that will be massive in scale, and if completed, if successful, will firmly put China in a position to be a world power for many, many decades to come. Now, why the new Silk Road? Why are they building it? Well, there are many reasons. For one, you have the trade possibilities, which are endless when you consider that China is a manufacturing superpower and wants to continue to be a manufacturing superpower and to have a soft landing in their current economic situation. To do that, they plan to build infrastructure and then establish trade routes throughout Eurasia to enable them to have what is often termed as a new dynasty in China. Now, we take a look at the old Silk Road. We can see that it stretched all the way from China into the Balkans, Mediterranean Sea, Black Sea, and the ports there. And that was very successful for many number of years. It's world famous in history. And the new project that the Chinese are proposing is much larger in scale and perhaps more risky. We take a look at this map here. We see in yellow the proposed new Silk Road route. We have the Trans-Siberian Railroad that already connects into China through Beijing. And then we have connections and routes that are already established with Indochina area. And when we connect all of these together, what we see is that the plan initially is from Beijing to Moscow, but in its full capacity from Beijing to London. A massive trade route and massive infrastructure that will take a lot of cooperation with countries along the route to be able to be successful, not just in soft power but also in hard power, because to be able to police that entire route is going to take a massive amount of manpower, military technology, and political clout. Can the Chinese pull it off? It's yet to be seen, but they're gambling on it. It's the grand strategy that is going to hopefully, in their opinion, take them from being one of the world powers to the world power. Now, there's many things to consider with this new Silk Road, and it's not just with trade and tourism. You have to consider that in order for this to be successful, the renminbi has to open up even more, and there has to be a viable way to exchange currencies and open new markets. Now, they can accomplish that with their deals with the countries they already have relations with, Russia and some of the others. But to be able to, I guess, resolve beefs between countries along the route, they're going to have some kind of organization where the nations can come together and voice their grievances and so on. They don't have that yet. They don't have anything like NATO or the UN for the new Silk Road. And the Balkans may be an area that it will be most difficult to get those kind of agreements with. There's a great article here I want you to take a look at if you have time. Balkan Silk Road, they see possible new wars, and their perspective on it is very unique. This is Serbian Perspective here. They're right along that route, and the odds, they say, are a long shot, but if successful, again, it's going to benefit not just China, but a lot of these nations that along the way that are in economic turmoil. Greece being one of them, but Turkey is the hot spot today and in decades to come. You don't hear that on the news, but you should, because there's a lot going on around Turkey and in the Balkans area that are going to make this thing very interesting going forward. That being said, there are other hot spots along the way that are going to completely transform if successful. If we take a look through the Arabian portion of this map, we see that we've got Turkmenistan, we got Kazakhstan, and other nations in between China and the Balkans that have to transform completely their way of doing international business and improve their infrastructure. The Chinese can provide that, and that's what they're promising. However, we know that there's a great deal of turmoil here, and the military might of elements such as ISIS are going to throw a wrench into their plans unless they can bring that under their fold. So very interesting to see what will happen. It's a multi-trillion-dollar over decades deal that, if completed, will be a game changer in the world. And you're seeing that here in this video, the beginnings of the new Silk Road, which, like I said, China's grand plan and huge gamble to make them the eminent power in the world going forward.